Hello, everyone. This is Kendall of Me Organ Transcription and Content Creation Services. I am incredibly excited to be here with you today. I have the lovely Carri Mansfield who's going to join me for today's interview. And let me go ahead and bring her on.
Hi.
There's Carri.
I
Hi,
see you.
lovely.
That didn't take very long.
No, it didn't. Thank goodness. It was like it always just takes, there's a delay, and it always just like takes, and you're like, "Oh, I'm on," and I'm like, "Okay, Facebook, show me she's here." Um so anyways, this, everybody, again, let's just go skip the other 2 minutes or whatever. This is Kendall of Me Organ Transcription Content Creation Services. And today I am here with the lovely Carri Mansfield, and as part of the Sparkle and Shine series. And we are going to talk about sustainable nutrition, we're going to talk about health, and we're going to talk about life, just wherever things take us. Carri, I would love for you to just do a quick little introduction, let everybody know who you are. I know we know each other from the online space, but we're going to make sure everybody who's watching who may not really know you well can know something about you, and then we'll just kind of go from there, okay?
Sounds good. All right. My name's Carri Mansfield, as Kendall already said. I am a plant-based nutrition coach, and I work with people to get sustainable health using plant-based foods, trying to get more whole, real, nutritious foods into people's bodies and decrease the amount of processed crap and garbage we're putting into our bodies. And that's the gist of what I do.
Awesome. Now, Carri, when we were talking about you coming on to the Sparkle and Shine series, that this was going to be less of an interview and more of basically an organic conversation.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I don't really have a lot of interview questions because that's not what we're doing here. But I always just want to kick us off by starting with telling everybody, I know, Carri, for you specifically, you didn't always operate your business in the online space. So I'd love to know kind of what brought you to the online space.
Sure. Well, yeah, I started off with mostly with doing in-person. I had in-person clients, and that's actually an interesting question. I don't know exactly when it happened. I think as I was, because I always knew, I mean, my business is relatively new. It's under 2 years old. So obviously the online space has been around during that time. And I knew, but I think as I was doing a couple courses online and seeing how, hello guy, seeing how other people were running their businesses online and seeing that the people I was working with in person were also online. So it was a good way to kind of connect both ways. Like I don't necessarily have to meet them in person in order to see them online. And as I want to say, when I first started going online myself to get support as a business owner, I really saw the power of connecting in groups. And I wanted to sort of, well, more recently when I created my Facebook group, I'm like, I really want to create that with other people that are involved in health and wellness and wanting to improve their health, because I could see how beneficial it was to just bounce ideas off of people and just connect with like-minded people that are interested in the same things.
Yeah, well, and I know Kangaroo, she had to join us. She has a little bit of a runny, wintertime mom.
Oh,
But she's
so
not
cute.
sure she wants to take a nap. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're gonna be in the interview, all
Fantastic.
sleepy and like swollen face, and and hopefully she won't knock the camera over. So if there's a big crash and then disappear, everybody, that's what's
That's
happening.
that's where I
Um,
went.
Right, yeah. So anyway, yes, okay, so Carri, and your group, right, I know the online space is, you talked about how much community and support and encouragement and just the connection that can be created in the online space. That's, I have to
Mm.
tell you, one of the things that I really, really love about the online space myself. And I know when we were first connecting some months ago or whatever, right? You hadn't started your group yet, but you were getting ready to start your group. And so I know you've been growing that and showing up and just kind of being your wonderful self, and sharing all the knowledge and tips and just life that you have. So I'd love to know, I guess, about your group, about that whole process, what that's been like for you as a business owner, as somebody who works really hard to maintain your plant-based diet, and kind of how all that goes together. Because I don't practice a huge plant. I mean, I eat plants, right? But I don't.
I hope so. I hope they're in there somewhere.
Right, yeah, they're definitely in there. Plants and vegetables, like fruits and vegetables, they are one of my jams. And I've dabbled in like not doing meats and stuff in the past, but for the like since I've been having babies, like that's not even. My husband would probably like like get a new wife. So he'd be like, "What is going on here?" Um, but I know that at least for me, in my experience in the past, in like dabbling in more fruits and vegetables and less meat items, or in some cases no meat items, that for me it would take a lot of like thought. But you, of course, have been doing this for a very long time, which is part of why you have your business and you have it structured the way you do. So I'd love to know kind of those two things, what that has.
I don't remember the questions.
It's okay. I don't. Yeah, like but building the group,
Yes.
how that experience has been for you as a new to the online space business owner who wanted to create and foster that type of community that you were finding. So that's one question. Yeah, because I gave you two questions. And then the other question, is like, what is this whole sustainable plant-based nutrition? Because it sounds, my experience is that it was harder or more complicated, but you make it so easy. And so I'd love to hear more about that. And I'd love for you to share with other people about that.
Sure. The group has been fun. I kind of fought against starting a group for a while because I thought it was going to be a lot of work. I thought I was going to have to be in there all the time and posting and doing all these things, which, I mean, obviously you have to be present, you have to be in there. But I was working with a business coach at the time, and she was very encouraging of groups and I also saw from my experience business-wise in groups how helpful they were. And I was thinking, well, if I can recreate that for people that are interested in eating more plant-based nutrition, then that would be fantastic. Because if you have a question, or if I have some ideas for meals I can throw out there or things like that, I wanted to help people. So I thought it was going to be a lot of work. It really has not been that much work at all. Even setting up a Facebook group, it's like setting up a Facebook page. It takes less than 5 minutes. I mean, it's really not that difficult. So the time commitment stuff, that hasn't been bad. And growing the group has been, I had to kind of challenge myself and like set little goals. It's still a smaller group. It's, I think, like 40 people at this point, and I'd like it to get a little bit bigger. But my main goal is to get people in the group that want to be in the group. I didn't want to grow a group for just numbers, for the sake of having numbers. I wanted people in there that were engaged and that actually wanted to learn more. And I didn't want, just like I said, just the numbers of having it grow fast. So I've been really happy that it's been growing like kind of slow, and that even in the beginning, like from the first post or two I made, like a couple people commented and it got engagement, and I was like, yes, I'm like, people are actually care, and so that was exciting.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to sustainable. I'm trying to remember the second question. The sustainable plant-based nutrition. Well, plant-based nutrition, I've been vegan for 8.5 years, and plant-based nutrition is not veganism. They're two different things. I'm vegan because I love animals and I don't want to eat them. And while I think it's healthy, I think it's more realistic for people trying to eat less animals to do plant-based. And vegan doesn't necessarily mean healthy. Like, people can eat vegan and be a health mess. So plant-based is more getting whole foods, real foods into your diet. And the sustainable piece is doing it slowly and doing it so it's part of your lifestyle and it's something that you can do for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean you can never eat a cupcake, but just like the majority of your diet, you're eating whole, real foods that make you feel good, that give you more energy, that help you stay active. And that's the basis of the sustainable part. Because when we try and just do a diet for the sake of doing a diet to either lose the weight or fit into a pair of jeans or whatever the case may be, I mean, that's usually not long term. You deprive yourself of foods for a couple weeks, couple months, you lose a few pounds. And let's be honest, as we get older, I just turned 40 last year and weight does not come off as easily as it used to. So sustainability is really important because, I mean, with yo-yo dieting, which I'm sure many people have experienced, it's not sustainable and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to go up and down in your weight and not feel comfortable in your skin. And I really like when I work with people, I want people to feel good on the inside first, and then the changes come on the outside. And that starts with putting good, healthy foods in your body. So that's sustainable.
Yeah, no, that's great. And the thing one of the things, I mean, I like your business, right? And I like you, but those are always a plus. But the one thing that I think is so good, right? And I mean, as business owners, we always have to do this educational piece so that people know what it is that we're doing. But what you do, Carri, is that you do education without always selling. And that is such an important piece. And when you do things like that, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but when you do things like that, that's how it's like, that becomes, for me, even somebody who, like, my goal is not to, unless, like I said, my husband, like, fires me or something. My goal is to do all of the fruits and vegetables most of the time, because it's like that sustainable piece, I wouldn't be like, I'd be by myself.
Yeah.
So so right, and it's like, wait, I don't want to cook 3 different meals a day, right?
Yeah, no.
Different days, like 3 times a day, 3 different meals. That's just no. So
no.
But the way you share your information, the way you give your tips, really helps me to be like aware, like, oh, like, oh, I could choose this particular vegetable maybe over this one if I want to, definitely have more energy, versus like, oh, I'm just buying a bunch of vegetables that are fresh. I don't really know what they do. And that's one thing that I know that you share a lot. And I think that's so awesome. I think it's so cool. So I'd love for you to tell us more.
Thanks. Well, it's more about like the simple steps. Like you can't, like you said, it does seem, with any lifestyle change, it seems overwhelming. It seems like a lot of work, because you think, especially if you're used to not doing anything, like as far as meal prep, if you're not used to eating any fresh fruits or vegetables, it can seem daunting, because not only do you have to do the grocery shopping, you have to prepare things, you have to cook them. And when you're a mom or a dad, you have to make sure everyone's going to eat them. So it's very, am I stressing you out, Kendall?
No, I'm like,
just
yes.
Thinking about it.
And like, they're prepping, and like, is everyone going to eat? Because right now, my boys, I know that I have 2 older boys of 5 and 3, and they have essentially stopped eating everything that is a vegetable. Like my son will say, "Mama, can I have a burger with no pickles?" I'm like, it's a pickle. It's fine. You've eaten it before. No, I don't like it. It's yuck. It wasn't yuck last year, but apparently they have like sworn off all vegetables. Yes. And thankfully I can still get legumes, like beans and stuff, but and they'll eat fruit. They love fruit. So they got that gene for me, because I absolutely adore fruit. But the vegetable thing, they're just like, ew, it's yuck. I'm like, but it has like cheese. Like, I entice them with stuff, and they're like, no, no. have it.
Not
Don't
gonna
even
have it.
don't argue with me. Don't put it on the table, Ma. And I'm like, what? You gotta eat. And then so I've started doing like a salad for myself just to make it easier, because that prep thing is like super real when you got kids.
Yes. And I remember that my kids are a little bit older. I have two boys, 11 and 13. And I'm going to be totally honest, they still don't eat a ton of vegetables. I try my best. I do what I can. And they do eat some every day because I make them. Well, no, they just, no, I don't force feed them. But they, in their lunches, I'll put things in their lunches that they'll eat at the dinner table. Like that's one thing when I was, I think I did a talk at the end of, I did some in-person workshops this year, and one of them was getting your kids to eat vegetables. And one of the tips that I gave was sometimes just putting it on the table is a win. Like some kids, and just getting used to seeing it and smelling it is huge, because some kids don't even like, just getting used to the smell is a big deal. Some kids are more sensitive than others. And just, and then once it's on the table, like maybe taking a little bit and putting it on their plate. Like it's with kids, it's like super small steps. Like even trying to puree some of it into sauces and gravies. Sometimes that's a way to start getting them into their bodies, so that way they can develop a little bit of a taste for it without really knowing they're eating it. But it's definitely a challenge, and it's definitely, even with some people, I'm working with someone now who does not cook at all or has never cooked at all in the past. So we're just working on getting convenience healthy foods, like getting the pre-cut things that you don't have to do anything to, because you have to start where you are. And that's the biggest, that's the most important thing. And even if you just get a bunch of raw vegetables and hummus, you keep that in your fridge, and that's how you're getting extra vegetables in to start, and that's getting you used to it, that's a big win. Like it just depends where you are and where you want to start. It doesn't have to be, because sometimes we look at people, I still do this. Like I look at people that are, they don't have any sugar in their diet. I mean, because I'm vegan with no animal products, I don't have the milk or any of the dairy or the cheese or the like meat, but like I still enjoy my sugar occasionally. And like people that omit coffee, or like because that works really well for their bodies. And like there's always people, I don't want to say ahead. Well, I guess you could say ahead of like just in their health journey of, no, I don't want to say ahead. I take that back, because everyone has their own journey, and there's not really about being ahead or behind of anybody. But when people
Definitely
are
not a competition.
no, totally not.
Yeah.
So it's really when you look at where you are and not look at other people, like you have to take those where you are and incorporate the healthy habits to get to where you want to be. And sometimes you don't know. I mean, it's a journey like everything else. You don't always end up where you think you're going to end up. But this might be going off on a little bit of a tangent, but I was listening to a podcast the other day, but I can't remember who, so I can't give them credit, so I'm very sorry. But they were talking about things being a journey, and like there's no end point. And with health and nutrition, a lot of times when, especially as women, as we're growing up, like we think there's this ideal. You see this freaking model airbrush in a bikini, and you think that's what the perfect woman looks like. Which in reality,
who, by the way, it took all day to get that one image.
yeah. And you don't know what their diet looks like on a day-to-day basis as opposed to the week before the photo shoot. I mean, but it's a journey, and our bodies change throughout the month as we retain water and different things that happen. And it's not fair to think just because you look one way one week and maybe you're a little heavier, a little thinner the next week, that's good or bad. It's just how your body is. And it's really important to keep that in mind.
Yeah. And I love what you highlighted about how, I love how you really honed in and were like, no, it's not, no, nobody's ahead or behind. I love that. And I'll tell you, part of the reason I love that is because I definitely believe in this whole thing about journeys. And that's also like, that's part of why I do what I do in my business with like helping entrepreneurs and business owners with their content and like reframing it so that they can do more, you know, with their time, is because it's a journey. Like when you're, like you were sharing, when you first started your business, you were not in the online space. As you, as a business owner, found help and support and all that stuff in the online space, you decided, hey, I think I really do want to be in the online space and I want to do this for other people. And then later you created a group to have a defined space specifically for the people who are wanting to incorporate more plants into their diet.
Yeah.
And that was a whole journey, right? And the same thing, like you shared, the same thing with nutrition in general, the same thing with health and wellness, the same thing with motherhood. Like you, as an example, you shared you have an 11-year-old and 11 and 7. I'm so
11, 13.
13, that's right. I was like, there's only 2 ages anyway.
Yeah.
But I have so much info in my head, right? But you're on a different path of your journey as a mom than I am. I still have, all my kids are 5 and under. And so like what I can do today is different than what I can do next year. And what you can do today is not what you did, 3 years ago. Even
Exactly.
with the 13-year-old. And then even within each of your children, they each have their own. I'm sure you have one or the other who at times will eat more or less of what you serve and what you bring to the house, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the entire thing about what it is when we talk about making changes, which is the crux of your business, is about making changes for yourself. But like you said, start where you are, honor your journey, and be on that journey.
And to that point, I don't know, this came into my head as you were talking. I mean, I have, most of my clients are women, but I do work with men also. And the moms that I've worked with, there's some moms that are just trying to get themselves healthy first. And there's some that they want it to be a whole family experience where they're making healthy meals for the whole family. But in some situations, like, don't feel bad if you want to work on yourself first, because it can be a challenge to get everyone to eat what you want them to eat. So I've seen both ways work well. It really depends on you and your family and where you're at. Because I'm constantly trying to incorporate things into my family dinners. But at the same time, there's certain things that I make for them. Like there's a cashew mac and cheese that I make for them, which I think is delicious, but it's just not something that I want to eat once a week, which is what they want to eat once a week. So I will make that for them. But then I also make roasted vegetables, steamed vegetables on the side that I'll use throughout the week for myself. So that way I can I'm not doing a ton of extra cooking because I'm serving them the vegetables too as a side dish, but for them, the side dish is my main dish and their main dish is my side dish. So there's ways to kind of incorporate things. So you're not cooking a ton more, but you're just kind of working out the meals differently, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, it does. It makes perfect sense. And first of all, you need to tell me about this cashew mac and cheese because it's really interesting. And I know you don't use like cheese and milk, so I'm even more interested. Like, what? Wait a second. How'd you do that? Because even though, so I myself, of course, have room and areas of improvements when it comes to all sorts of things, including food.
We all do.
Yeah, right. Like I'm a chocolate lady. Like I have a girlfriend who recently said to me, after all these years, I know that you love chocolate. You don't have to keep saying. So, so case in point. But anyway, so I do try to stay away from mostly anything that's processed, and I like to cook as like whole foods as possible. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. But that is part of the reason that your cashew mac and cheese sounds so interesting. So if you have something you'd like me to share that, because
okay, I will.
That's so cool.
It's actually the recipe that I use is from Colleen Patrick Goudreau's. I think it's in the vegan table or her 30-day vegan challenge. I got that book way back when I first became vegan 8 years ago, and I still use it. And she has so many easy recipes in there, the 30-day vegan challenge. but I'll look it up and I'll share it with you after. But
Well, and everybody, that was a shout out. So go buy that lady's book. Okay.
yeah,
So
that's the one thing that I don't like. I love sharing recipes, but if it's someone else's recipe, like I need to make sure I give them credit for it because it's really good. I mean, you could Google and find other cashew based mac and cheeses, but hers is delicious.
yeah, well, hey, whatever. So, but listen, so tell me, I'm really curious to know because you already had children when you decided to become vegan and you made that choice for yourself. And I'd really like to know how you made that happen, because I know you work with all sorts of parents and single people too, right? And couples. But I know that at least for me, when I want to do like a big change, and of course my kids are still very small, but when I want to do something that's like a real massive shift, right? That there's a lot of prep work I do within myself, and then sort of with the family, even though they don't know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'd love to hear, right? So that's what I mean. Like, I'd love to hear, how did you do that shift when you already had like a husband and kids and like, you know, all this whole mom and all this stuff? I mean, because 8 years ago, your youngest would have been what, like 3?
Yes. Was that? Isn't it awful? I can't even. I'm trying to think. I'm like, is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So he was like 3. It was.
That's mom brain. Mom brain.
I know. I have to be honest, the biggest motivator was because when I became vegan, I've always been interested in health and nutrition, but when I became vegan, it wasn't about the health and nutrition, it was about the animals. So it was about I mean, in this regard, it was about something much greater than myself. It wasn't about, do I want a piece of chicken or do I want to have some ice cream? It was about watching documentaries, factory farms, seeing animals in cages, learning that mom cows are pregnant and they have babies and we take their milk. Like, it was something, I'm not going to get into all of it, but like, it was just something way bigger than myself. It wasn't just, okay, I want to fit into a bikini this summer. So it meant a lot to me as a mom and as a human, that I really wanted to make the change. And there was a few months of a transition. And just so everybody knows, my husband's not vegan. My kids are not vegan. They eat primarily vegan because I cook and that's what choice they have. But I mean, when we go out to restaurants, they order what they want. I try and educate them along the way. And I have a husband that is amazing. And I mean, even from the beginning, I mean, I don't think he understood what I was doing, or he would watch documentaries with me. So maybe he kind of took something in, but he's nothing but supportive. He's amazing. Even now, I mean, there's not been one time where he's gotten upset because we don't have meat in the house or that I don't cook a certain way. So his support has been incredible, because if he was giving me a hard time about it, it would have made it a lot more difficult. And the kids were still relatively small when I became vegan. So they still were, I was when they were smaller and before I became vegan, like I was doing chicken nuggets and French fries and all that like stuff. So that I slowly stopped doing that. And even now I mean, if you were to ask my older son, I think he would probably be like, yeah, I really wish mom would cook a steak every now and again. But my younger one I think he's going to probably end up being a vegetarian at some point, because he just doesn't eat a lot. He does, even when we go out, he eats it occasionally, but it's not a big deal. But it's amazing when you just start doing things, and it helps that I love to cook. I mean, I love cooking. I love trying new things. So when I became vegan, I was eating so many different foods and introducing them to foods that we hadn't eaten as a family before. So it was kind of a neat learning experiment to see different things and to find ways and then when they were small, trying to, sneak things in. And I still recommend that to people sometimes, like pureeing things and throwing them in stuff, because I mean, it's a great way to use up vegetables, and like, you don't even know you're eating vegetables. So I would say making a big change, I mean, you have to have a bigger purpose as to why you're doing it. Like, if you're trying to improve your health and wellness, like for me, I love working out. Not a lot of people do, but I want to be able to move when I'm older. I've seen grandparents and stuff with arthritis and stiff joints and not being able to, do certain things. Like I want to be an active older person and I want to have good internal health too. Like I don't want to be on a ton of medications. Thankfully I think I have pretty good genetics, but I don't want to end up on stuff. I don't want to have to be going to the doctors all the time. And to me, that's a really big why as well. And I want to be around to see I was fortunate that all four of my grandparents were alive when I got married. And I want to be that grandparent whether my kids want to get married or not, but like I want to see them grow up. I want to see if they have kids, I want to see them grow up. Like I want to be around for all that stuff. So I think just having a bigger purpose as to why you're making these changes. I don't know if short-term goals will get you so far and it's fantastic. You want short-term goals too, but if there's a bigger picture to get you excited and motivated and want to make changes, it's super helpful.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I have to ask this question. This is going to sound like it's way off. But I have to ask this question. So you were telling us about your journey into becoming a vegan and making that choice and those shifts where it sounded very, obviously it was mental, right? You were watching, you were inputting information, but it also sounded very heart, which to me sounds very spiritual. So was that how it was for you, or was it like just a head and heart choice? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting that I have to think about this for a second.
I put you on the spot.
Well, because I didn't think about it that way before. Like I thought my younger son is more sensitive, and I always attribute, like, I feel like when I was younger, I was not very sensitive. I was not very empathetic. I wasn't mean or anything, but like I just feel like I wasn't as in touch with my emotions when I was a kid or younger. And then having my youngest, he is so in touch with his emotions. And actually, even with my first son, though, just becoming a parent made me more emotional and more empathetic and more in touch with, I guess, my spiritual side. So that might be why I was open, because I've loved animals for my whole life. I always thought I would like do something with my life based on animals, not have kids, or you know what I mean? Like I didn't see that there. Yeah. So I'm sure it did. I think having kids opened me up to that part of myself, and that's so interesting. I never thought about it that way. Thank you, Kendall.
Yeah.
You're really making me think.
Hey, that's what I do. I listen, right? And I listen what is being unsaid, or what is another way of what's being said. Like, what's another way to frame that? I mean, that's what I do, right?
Right, but, totally.
Yeah. So that's why I was wondering, because the way you spoke about it, I mean, you're talking about it, right? And so you're saying the words and you're saying, but I could feel something sort of coming up for you. I don't know if it really did, but I felt it. And maybe because you were reflecting on when it was coming up for you those years ago, but I totally could feel like this is bigger. This is really, really big. And then you went into talking about like it being part of your why and a bunch of whys connected. And I mean, it just is a why, right? And it's so important to have a why. Sometimes I really hear these other things, and that's where that question came from. Trust me, I was not like, hey, I'm going to ask her about spirituality today. It was just like, it came up, and I was like, ooh, that sounds very spiritual. Like it sounded like a very big transformation. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, I mean, I was raised like in a religious household, and I've never considered myself very religious. And even after having kids and stuff, but I think you're absolutely right. Like after that point in time, I have been more in touch with like my spirituality and looking for bigger purposes of why we're here and what this is all about.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, you are doing something having to do with animals.
Yeah, I know.
How funny is that, right? How funny is it? Like we have these random ideas when we're like kids sometimes, and we don't really know what, and we just think it's like this, or this, because I'm sure when you were a kid or younger, you were like, well, maybe I'd be like a vet or just something that's more, sort of like there's a clear path. But yet you've carved out this other path for yourself that is still exactly what you felt like was part of you when you were young. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, we're all in this together, right? We're all learning. And then the other thing you were sharing was about support from your husband, right? So I know I joked about mine, right? And so for like a split second, like all jokes aside, here's Kendall being super authentic and super transparent, like always. All jokes aside, I was like, ooh, did it sound like my husband's not supportive, right?
No, not at all.
No. Yeah, it was just like, you just have that little twinge, like, ooh, did I say something that was weird? No, but when you were talking about your husband being supportive and your husband allowing you to make these shifts and changes for yourself, for your reasons, and still like it being him being supported by not getting upset that there's not meat in the house or disliking the way that you cook, or at least not expressing that, in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
That all that stuff is really important. And it takes me back to sort of how we started this whole talk today about community and being in the online space. And that's what drew you in. And as you pointed out, when you started on your vegan journey, and thus what has become your business journey, it's all about community and support and finding people and places and things that are lined up with where you are, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, or that show you new things that help you to make those changes.
Yeah.
And that's what you do in your business. That's what you do when you meet with, you do live in-person events. I know you just did one like a month ago. I think it was like December or something.
It was more the fall. It wasn't, I took a break for the winter because the holidays and stuff, but yeah.
3 kids, 5 and under. Yeah, I don't know what time it is.
That's right.
Like seriously, because I knew you had done it, and I was like, when did she do that? I was thinking this whole time, like the whole time I'm like, when did she do that? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Because 3 months ago to me was like last month, seriously. So
I get it.
Yeah. But when you do your in-person events, I know that that's what you talk about. Obviously, your business is about creating those sustainable, making those sustainable for you choices so that you can, if you're interested and you want to, either eat an entirely plant-based diet if you choose, or just incorporate more. Because as you mentioned, there's lots and lots of people who don't know how to even do things with vegetables. I mean, I've met people,
right.
I had family members who, were like, how do you make such and such vegetable? And I'm like, you put it in the pot and you do this. But like, they really didn't know. And it's not because they never ate it. It's because they didn't know how to prepare it. They didn't know how to cook it. And so I think that's super cool. I know that you, outside of your group program or your group community on Facebook, I know that you also do, like I said, the live events, and you mentioned, and then you've also got something else going on. Tell us a little bit about that.
What's the something else I have going on, Kendall?
I thought you had a program you were going to launch soon of some sort, or a challenge. I
did a challenge last month.
See?
I did. So the challenge I did last month.
Kendall's filling up the interview, everybody. Not Carri, it's Kendall. I should have wrote it all down.
I was like, crap, did I start something? Or did I say something? I forgot I was starting and totally dropped the ball on it. No, I do, it's funny. It's like you're seeing into the future though. Cause like right now I do my paid work is one-on-one coaching. I have a 2-week and a 3-month program. But I've been thinking about doing a group program. So it's like you read my mind that's in the future. See, you're not forgetting things. You're reading into the future now.
I am. That's all it is. I'm reading into the future. No, well, because yeah, okay. So your challenge was last month. Oops. Um, sorry
That's
for screwing that
okay.
up. But
No.
tell us, tell us about the challenge because I know that people that I know don't know you, and obviously that's part of why you're
Yeah.
on here. So tell us about the challenge and just tell us what you're thinking might happen over the next, quarter or so.
Well, the challenge was about, since it was in December, it was about, I didn't like to call it a challenge because around the holidays, things are really hard. And when I hear challenge, I think work. So
Yeah.
it was, it was, I forgot what word I think I just called it like an email series or something because I didn't want it to sound daunting. But it was
Yeah.
just about maintaining your health through the holidays, which kind of pertains to where we are now after the holidays because it's sort of the same strategy of like when things get busy or when you're starting, like around the holidays, it was things are busy, we're off our routine, we have a lot of parties we're going to and doing all this stuff. And there's all the things, the wrapping the gifts, the doing the shopping, the different meals, and all this work of trying to just remember what you're doing right and trying to do what you can do. Like if you can't get your, say you normally go to the gym for 45 minutes or an hour a day, if you can only go for a 20-minute walk, that's fantastic. Like that's not a loss. That's not you screwing up. Like that's awesome that you're doing something. Or if you're going out and you're having an indulgent meal, that's one meal. Just don't do it all the time. I mean, if you take that one meal and you start eating like crap for like the rest of the whole month of December, then that's not fantastic. But like if you just have one meal that you indulge in, like that's okay. And then just move on the next day. Like don't sit and dwell on it. And it's sort of like that getting back into New Year's and getting back into your habits. Like the main habits that to drink more water, to move your body more, be kind to yourself and start things slowly and get back on track. And then you can start trying to ramp up, like you want to start incorporating more vegetables in your dinner, or you want to start decreasing your processed snacks or little things like that that you want to start doing to make it a lifestyle change, like I said, and not just a quick fix diet type thing. So
Yeah.
that's
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So then I was thinking about I may do another like challenge. See, I don't like the word, I'm really rebelling against the word challenge when it comes to
Call
these
it
things. I don't know
You
why.
could always just call it like instead of calling it challenge or saying like email series, right? You could always just call it something fun. You could call it like our I just had it in my head. And I looked out the window and was like, oh, die. Like
Oh, look, a
there's no
squirrel.
yeah, right, yeah. Oops. Uh, no, but like, yeah, because challenge can sound very hard. It can sound tough. It can sound like work, especially when things are busy or
Yeah.
we're looking for the year ahead, and it feels like, oh, there's so much time, but at the same time, it's like, wait a second, there's probably not that much time because it's going to be December again before I know it, right? So it still feels kind of, funky to some of us, but maybe instead of challenge, you could just call it our I don't know what it would be on, but maybe you could call it like, this week's tips, like, top tips, or like let's get together, like something just sort of fun, and you have fun in your personality,
Yeah.
Carrie. So just go with it. You don't have to use the word challenge because lots of people use the word challenge. Look, I'm not super high on the word challenge myself. In fact, for this series, I was like, what do I call it? I went to my husband like 3 different times. I'm like, I have this idea and this is what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. I was like, but I don't want to call it a conference. I don't want to call it a this, that, and the other.
Mm.
I'm coming up with all these words that and he's like, why can't you call it that? I said, I don't like the way it feels. He's like, well, why don't you just call it an interview? I said, because it's not an interview. I was like, it's a conversation. He's like, yeah, but interview people like at least sort of have an idea what's happening. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I went with it, but I left the other part, the sparkle and shine part, because that's the fun part. So,
Yeah,
anyway.
no, yeah, you take, well, because you wanted people to know what you're talking about too, right? Sometimes we make it too, like we want to make it interesting and unique and new, and then it comes out being this term, people don't know what the heck we're saying. So yeah, totally. But yeah, so I've been another challenge type thing, maybe in February, or, but I'm not sure. I still want to think about what that would be about. And then I have, like, since I started my Facebook group, I am thinking more, because right now I do one-on-one coaching, but I'm thinking about doing a more intimate group program, because I do love the feel of the Facebook group, but it would be kind of cool to just have like a small group of 5 women that could really, because the community thing
Mm-hmm.
is so beneficial, just so, and I feel like sometimes in these groups, even though my group is I mean, you have to request to be in it, it's not public, so it's private, but there's still a lot of people, and like, it's, some people feel safer in a smaller space sharing, not that it's going to be like a therapy session, but, you know, just sharing personal, anything that they may want to in the group.
Yeah.
So
People like
I'm
me
looking
could
into
say
that.
things like, my husband might leave me if I do this, right? And then 4 other women plus Carrie are going to be like, it's actually going to be okay, I promise. Like, like, because maybe I don't want to say that all the time, right? You know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
maybe on a certain day, I mean, it's not something he did, but as, I don't know about you, but I know as me, as a mom, and as a woman, I like make up stuff really, really quickly in my head that aren't true. So,
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I catch myself all the time.
yeah. Okay, so listen, I have one last thing, because I know we need to start wrapping up here. And I have this, I call it the Starlight Round. So there's 3 questions, and you can't stop and think about them. Okay, that's the deal, Carrie. You just have to answer. I don't care if the first, well, I mean, Facebook might care if you start cursing, but I don't really care what the first thing comes in your head, but you got to go with it. And the reason that I like that is because I think sometimes we always try to like edit ourselves. And so with these Starlight questions, they're relatively simple, but they're a little challenging at the same time. So that's why it's kind of like, just go with the first thing and let's see what happens.
Okay.
Okay. All right. First question. What is your biggest personal change in the process of building your business?
Well, mindset is the first thing that comes up. I'm just trying to figure out how to articulate it so it makes sense for the question. I mean, I was into personal development before starting my business, but I think before I started my business, I'd read a bunch of books and not do anything about it. And then after I started my business, I read a lot of books and actually started putting them into action, and like talking to people and learning and putting things into action and actually growing, as opposed to just consuming information. So I would say that's the biggest change.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I see so much of I see that a lot, and I've had to do a lot of that myself. Even with a background in social work and like training and all that, I have all this, like, I can like counsel people. I mean, I have like degrees, I can do this, but it's like I can't do it to myself about my business, right?
Oh, isn't that the worst? You can learn all you want, but when it applies to yourself, it's so difficult sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing. Okay, so another question is, share with us your biggest dream goal for 2019. I don't care if it's about business or life or personal or whatever. What is your biggest dream goal for 2019?
This is tricky, because this is where I have trouble dreaming big. Like all my, like anything that I put, like, because when I was doing goal setting and stuff, like I don't have anything huge. But one thing business wise that I've thought about is doing like cooking demos maybe this year, either online or in person, maybe a little bit of both. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's really a dream goal or not, but like, and I want to travel a little bit more. I'd like to do, I don't know if that's realistic this year, but I do want to,
See, editing yourself, Carrie,
see, I
and
know.
I'm watching you, and I'm like, I'm gonna cut her off because this is just getting too crazy. Listen,
Yes.
your dreams are your dreams. It doesn't matter if I think they're big, because a big dream to you might actually seem small to somebody else, but it's your big
Yeah.
dream. So there's that whole story that you're telling yourself about you don't have big dreams. But anyways,
Now that's
so
true.
I love the thing about cooking. I love that live cooking demo, either online or in person or maybe both. That sounds super fun. Super fun. Tell me the family one that you tried to edit there. Tell me what that is.
The family one. The vacation one? That was just because I start thinking realistically, like in a spring break, we have some stuff going on. And so I was like, oh, we're going to be able to do a bigger family vacation this summer. But yeah, we're going to do a bigger family vacation this summer. I take that back. We're going to make it happen. It may not be huge. It may not be elaborate, but we're going to go somewhere with water. I miss the water.
Well, you know what? Huge and elaborate is relative. Okay. Yeah. I'll give you a perfect example. So over the holidays, so we have family out of state. We're in North Carolina and we have family in like Pennsylvania. And we didn't get to see them, and we opted for them not to come down, even though there was an offer for a couple of them to come down. We said, you know what, my husband's work schedule and all this stuff, we're just not really going to have time and energy to interact. So we didn't think it was worth it. We said, okay, we'll visit after the first of the year because his schedule would go back to like normal, right? Mm-hmm. So we did, and we rented a hotel room and stuff because our family is like getting large, and like the kids are like at that, like, you can't keep them contained. Yeah. Kind of thing. So we're like, okay, we'll just rent a hotel room. That way we're not in anybody's way, all that stuff. And we get up there, and the children's, my husband's mother said, you want me to take the boys? And me and my husband looked at each other like, did you just like gift us like time? And so it was not
that's the best.
Exactly. So we had 2 days. I mean, we saw the kids. We all had like meals together and stuff. But we had 2 days. I mean, we had the baby, but we had 2 days, just my husband and I, 2 days and 2 nights all to ourselves. Wow. Exactly. See, so that's what I'm saying. It was, but that was relative, right? So because that was a small, simple trip, and we're like, we're going to go hang out with family because we didn't get to see them, and so on and so forth. And instead, my husband and I both had like this other like gift, basically, of just being alone together. And by the way, we never get that because we don't have family or anybody nearby. Like everybody's like hours away. So it's like, what? So that became a big travel, even though it wasn't. Yeah. That's my point. That was my point. So like you said, whatever you do, it may not seem grand, but it might be grand. It might be way grander than you think.
Yeah, seriously. No, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
I remember that I was lucky I had family close by when my kids were small, because that was awesome to have people watch my kids.
Yeah. I mean, just like a couple hours, like you have no idea. I'm always telling my husband, like, do we need to get daycare for like a couple hours every single day? Okay. Oh, and she's eating here. So at least it wasn't a camera. I kept her away from it. Okay. Last question, Carri. Okay. Last question. Sure. Biggest question. What is your biggest life or business challenge right now? And how would you like to see it change? And how would you like for us to help you?
Business-wise, I guess I'm just trying to have a consistent client base, because when I get clients, it seems very sporadic. So I would say it would probably just be consistent in that way. I would just, if people are interested in eating more plant-based, I would love to have people join my Facebook group and see if that resonates with them. If they'd like to go there, that would be fantastic. Because like I said, it's still small, but would love to have people in there that are interested. Because that's really fun for me right now. I'm really having a good time in there.
Awesome. And everybody, just so you know, Carri is a lot more fun than she's pretending to be today. Okay, she's a lot more fun than that. She's not stuck up, and she's not acting. You're not acting stuck up today, but you're very like, I can tell you're like sort of like reserving yourself. I know. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so I just had to tell everybody, like, Carrie's a lot more fun.
Carrie's a good
She
time. She's just kind of boring today.
no, you're not boring. You're not
I'm
at all
just
boring.
teasing.
No, you've given lots of good information. You've been a very good interviewee, right? Because it's called the interview series. But I also know that conversation with you is fun. So that's the point.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, okay, that's really awesome. We're going to make sure that we drop all the links below. We'll put your socials and everything down there. But let me just check really quick and make sure if anybody has any questions or anything that they may have dropped in the box. So let's see what we have here. We got a lot of people making comments. We got a question from Heather. It's a mom question. She's trying to help us out, or at least she's trying to help me. She says, can we connect with other moms in the area and trade time and stuff like that? Heather, that's a really awesome idea. And I did start, well, I haven't traded time yet, but I am connecting with other moms in the area, especially moms of little kids. So yes, but that was really awesome. I didn't see any other like serious questions, or anything like that, but anybody who's watching the replay or who checks in a little bit later, go ahead, drop your questions, ask Carri anything because she knows a lot. Ask her about her group. We're going to drop the links below so that you can find her business page, and wherever she is on social, she's going to tell you in a second, and her website. We'll make sure all the links are below, and a link to her group as well, so that if you're interested, you can go ahead and fill out the questions. So sorry, everybody. You're gonna go ahead and fill out the questions. She had like a 10-minute power nap, so she's like doing all the things. Yeah, she doesn't take after her mom at all. So, okay, so Carri, tell us where everybody can find you. Tell us your website, all your socials, and then, like I said, we'll make sure the links are below so people can go check out your group and everything.
Sure. Right. My website's just carrimansfield.com, CarriMansfield.com. And I have a Facebook business page, same name, Carri Mansfield. I don't know if it's Carri Mansfield or Carri Mansfield Coaching. I should probably know that, but I don't. And I have my Facebook group, Sustainable Plant-Based Eating. And I do have a Pinterest account that I have to get more up to date with. I was active on there for a little while and then I kind of stopped, but I would like to get back out there again. But that is Carri Mansfield Coaching. I do know that.
Okay. That's awesome. So, and your Facebook business page, I think it is just Carri Mansfield, because I type Carri Mansfield and it always just comes up for me. But
yeah,
I think it might have more words, but I just type Carri Mansfield and it comes up.
Okay.
So that's a tip. That's a tip for everybody. And you can still find Carri.
Yes.
I could go like fool around with Facebook right now, but it might mess up the video, so we're not going to do all that.
No, don't worry about it.
Okay, so listen, Carri, thank you so much. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say or like to share? Anything that you'd like anybody to do before we go ahead and sign off for this afternoon?
I just want to say thank you, Kendall, for inviting me and having me on today. This was fun. This was a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad. It was supposed to be really fun. Everybody, like I said, we're going to drop Carri's links below. Another quick little thing that is a surprise. If you would like to drop your email, you won't be added to my newsletter list or anything unless you want to be. But drop your email below if you would like to get a little extra special something. It'll be some quick rundown tips from our conversation today with Carri, my conversation today with Carri. And otherwise, we will see all of you at a later date, all over the socials. And join us next week for the next Sparkle and Shine. Next week we have Anita Thomas, who's really awesome, and she is a stress release coach. So she's going to talk to us a lot about stress. So join us for that. Go check Carri out. The links are going to be below in about 5 minutes. And Carri, I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much for being part of the series.
You have a great day too, Kendall.
And your heart.
Thank you so much. Bye.